reality, Christians. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. I know your pastor lied to you every Sunday for 30 years, but that's what the church is for. That's why it's just to lie to your boy, your ass need to stop it. Ass shit. Give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga.
Yeah, he a hardcore nigga. I ain't gonna hold you.
Y'all got the one I put on there?
What you put what on there? What you mean? What you got a song?
Yeah, the one I go hard on. I ain't get to it.
I ain't hit to that one. Hold on. What's this mean?
They say faith without works is dead, nigga. And if you ain't putting in no work, you scared, nigga. It's a new breed of black man in this earth. And we ain't putting up with your bullshit no more. Niggas dying and don't see none of y'all in these streets. Mama's crying, going to funerals every week. And when you speak, you wanna say forgive your enemies? Please, don't talk to me about peace. Niggas locked up with no voice to help them get free. Then they pop up and try to sell a nigga that same dream. The truth is, they don't give a damn about you or me. So please, don't talk to me about peace. It's time to show and prove. We hear you huffing and puffing, talking and bargaining. Nigga, show me what your ass can do. You say you got the truth, so when our kids were getting murdered in the streets, nigga, tell me where the hell were you? Hit crickets in the room. Yeah, I know, you can care less only if it benefits you. But I tell you what you do, pack your shit up and move. Out of time you lose, cause real niggas coming through. Instead of worrying about our people getting slaughtered, these niggas crying cause they can't get a motherfucking off. And by the way, our people in the flesh, they need a water. What you paying? I be speaking no English if we're across the border. But I gotta keep it real. Shout out to Nelly for real, cause he helped his other brother and a sister live. No more closed eyes, no more fucking eyes, no more yo, this guy crazy to the most high. Niggas dying and don't see none of y'all in these streets. Mama's crying, going to funerals every week. And when you speak, you wanna say forgive your enemies? Please, don't talk to me about peace. Niggas locked up with no voice to help them get free. Then they pop up and try to sell a nigga that same dream. The truth is, they don't give a damn about you or me. So please, don't talk to me about it. In a court of law, it ain't about what you know, it's what you can prove. You ain't got no evidence, you lose. They crackers got rules, make you put your hands on the Bible and try to tell the truth. They try to ban you, don't get it confused. In the court of law, you can cut your dreads and wear a nice suit. They still gonna label you a goon. You stuck with 12 jury, one judge, and a half a chance of making it out that room. They trying to ban you, I thought you knew, nigga. But everything ain't what it seems, cause the judge, prosecutor, and PD against you. They all tag team. They trying to make you take a plea and make you serve 10, 20 life without parole. Back in slavery, so separation is the key. Let's separate from the crackers that hate us and need niggas that let them infiltrate us. Weak ass, sweet ass. Talk when the cracker tell your ass to speak ass. Niggas dying and don't see none of y'all in these streets. Mama's crying, going to funerals every week. And when you speak, you wanna say forgive your enemies? Please, don't talk to me about peace. Niggas locked up with no voice to help them get free. Then they pop up and try to sell a nigga that same dream. The truth is, they don't give a damn about you or me. So please, don't talk to me about it. And I ain't trying to be like fuck dog. I'm picking up what part left up, so hit them up, cause I'm coming for all y'all. Fuck Peter Pickett, fuck Will Smith, fuck White Jesus for you Christian ass niggas. And I ain't forget still, fuck all you rapping faggot ass niggas getting fucked for a deal, but claim it real. Apologize for the truth, y'all. Never will. You looking at a UPK priest, they tell it like it is. Niggas think they got freedom in America, and they don't realize they free in America. That red, white, and blue flag was representing your freedom. To the red, white, and blue bags arrested for no fucking reason. National Association, advancement of color people. Yeah, more other people. You put your trust in that fake ass Barack Obama, or join the real brotherhood with General your honor. Niggas dying and don't see none of y'all in these streets. Mama's crying, going to funerals every week. And when you speak, you wanna say forgive your enemies? Please, don't talk to me about peace. Niggas locked up with no voice to help them get free. Then they pop up and Try to sell a nigga that same thing. The truth is, they don't give a damn about you or me. So please, don't talk to me about this.
That's it.
All right, it's just a class. So, yep, each one.
You good? All right, clap it up, Rocky. All right, Shalom, Israel. We're the ISUBK coming out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Johanna. This is ISUBK Dayton / Cincinnati for tonight. Your priest, Officer 5000 in the Pazza Alabama, alongside
Officer 500, y'all thumbs. Long.
Most High in Christ. We're here celebrating the Feast of Dedication. Clap it up for the Feast of Dedication. All right, this is for any of you who don't know, we're gonna get into the Feast of Dedication and what it's about. Of course, in the world they call it Hanukkah. So you'll see that often you'll see Hanukkah, you'll see images of the so-called Jewish man, right, and him celebrating Hanukkah, and all kind of nonsense that he does, and really to get down to the nuts and bolts, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This is a day for you. This is your feast day. This ain't for the Jewish man. This ain't for everybody else, and they rocking what they call the Star of David. There is no Star of David. There's a Shield of David. You understand? This is for black people, Hispanics, Native Americans. This is something. If you ever wonder, like, what's for you, this day right here is for you.
Right.
This day right here is for you and for your people to celebrate. So you should raise your family to celebrate this and keep this, because it's been memorialized by the Israelites. And tonight we're going to get to why it was memorialized and what's the need for it. Why do we have it? Right? Why do we do it? Why is it important? Right? And these days that we have, they're as important as you make them. So if you say, oh, yeah, it's a Feast of Dedication, and you don't do nothing for it, then, well, it ain't important. But if you put the same spirit in this like you would put into the spirit of Christmas, right, it would be it is greater than Christmas. Right. So you should treat it like it's greater than Christmas. Thanksgiving, New Year's, all that nonsense that you celebrated in the world, this is what really the Lord laid down for us to keep. You understand?
Right.
We good? I'm Most High in Christ. So, of course, this is a class. This is not a Sabbath service. So we always start class with questions. Any questions that we want to get into? For questions?
They're going to comment section.
Okay. No questions. All right. So let's get into it. Since nobody has any questions in the room, we don't have any questions online. Any questions in the room? All right, no sweat. All right, let's get it. First Maccabees 1:1. We'll get right into it.
You want to read, sir?
You
want to read? You want me to read?
Oh, yeah, that's the one. You can read since you up here, or we can pass it to a brother.
I'll start it off then. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of Persians and Medes.
So stop right there. Like for any of you, a lot of times we go out on the streets and we talk to people, and people say, why y'all believe in that Bible? That Bible is a fairy tale. The Bible is actual history. You can go and you can find these people in history. You can find Darius, the king of Persia. You can find him in history. You can damn sure find Alexander the Great. They call him Alexander the Great. We call him Alexander the Greek. He was not great to us. Right. You can find him. You can find Philip of Macedonia. He is a historical figure in history. Before you say, I don't believe his story, brother, it's his story. Your dumb ass should pick up a book, because these people were actually people in history. Right. And so the Bible is factual, you understand? So when you see these things in the Bible, just know that it's real, because you can tie history. Anytime you can line up the Bible with history, you can't how you gonna dispute it? Right. These people you find in history. And so this first scripture is talking about Alexander, the son of Philip of Macedonia. Go ahead.
Khan. That he reigned in his stead. Salaki. The first over Greece. Verse 2. And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
Right. And you can see that Alexander conquered a great many nations. Go ahead.
Khan. and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations.
Now, when they say the ends of the earth, it's not talking about everyone on the earth. Of course, over on that side of the world was the known world, right? You got North America, Central and South America was not part of the known world at that time.
Right.
Go ahead.
In so much that the earth was quiet before him.
Meaning he conquered everything, he subdued it. Quiet meaning did nobody want to rise up against Alexander the Greek. Go ahead.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Right.
And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings.
He had a great army and he ruled over nations and kings. Go ahead.
Who became tributaries unto him.
Meaning they paid him. Like, imagine me coming in your house and, beating you and your family down. I said, you know what? You're going to bring me some money every month. And if you don't, I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. That's what paying tribute to someone is. Go ahead.
So like, isn't this like a form of tax?
It is like a form of tax, but it is not really called tax because like what the Romans did to the Israelites, like we had to pay a tax to them. Tribute is like being a tributary is like you have to pay whatever sum I established, like in order for me not to invade and conquer you.
So if you say it's $100, it's $100
right
every day, month.
Right, whatever it is.
That's like, so you ask me.
Most High Christ.
Okay. Verse 5. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
Right, and this is also part of history, right? So he did fall sick. Go ahead.
Just make sure. Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, imparted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
And so of course, again, this is part of history. The Bible is lining up with history, or history is lining up with the Bible, as I like to say.
Right.
Because if you know anything about the history of Alexander, his 4 generals took control of everything that he had conquered. Go ahead.
So Alexander Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
Right.
So did their sons after them many years.
So these lands were in their possession for some generations. Go ahead.
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Evils were multiplied because they didn't have the laws of God. Because Alexander himself was a homosexual. Like they conquered and raped women and were, homosexuality and eating all kind of abominations, right? You got to imagine the people that they conquered. They conquered the Elamites, right? They conquered the person, all these people who ate whatever they wanted to eat. They, they had sex with whoever they wanted to have sex with. So it's not hard to imagine that, evils were multiplied.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Now notice how Israelites kept time. Israelites didn't say, Israelites kept time in the sense of it was the year of the 138th year of the reign of this king or something like that. So we would never be like, it's it was 1998 or whatever it was. Read that part again about the time.
And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
The kingdom of the Greeks, it was the 137th year.
Right.
Did I say that right?
Yeah,
137th year. And that's how Israelites we're not a people where you're going to get a whole, you should realize that just based on your own life. Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm right around the corner. You 10 miles, 20 miles away. Go ahead.
So that's like saying I'm going to be here in a minute.
I'm going to be here in a minute and you a whole hour away.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
Just like today. Just like today in Israel, there's wicked men that rule over us.
Right.
Go ahead.
Who persuaded many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us."
TD Jakes,
With the heathen that are round about us.
Buffalo Dollar.
With the heathen that are round about us.
Anybody who's so-called Black or Hispanic or Native American that tells you to join with this oppressor, they fit this scripture.
Right.
They want you to join with the heathen that's round about us. Why? Because the heathen are currently in charge.
Right.
The heathen run things. So instead of doing the hard thing and building our nation from the bottom up like we do in the ISUBK, you know what they say? They say, let's just join with this heathen.
Right.
You know, let's just get together with them. You know, they got everything you need. Well, we got to go and establish it ourselves. That's the easy thing to do, is to go and join another nation and be a slave to them. That's not what we about.
Right.
Israel ain't never been about that. Go ahead.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
That's what the same thing that they said. That's the same thing the elders said when we left Egypt. They said, you know what? At least there were flesh pots back in Egypt.
Right.
Right.
We go back to Egypt, you know, we got bread. Why are we going to come out to the desert and starve and die?
Right.
Why don't you just depend on the Lord? Why don't you worry about serving? That's what the scripture says. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added on.
Right.
You won't have to worry about trying to join together with another nation and become established and become, you know, getting good with them. Damn all that, man. We don't believe in none of that. The Bible don't condone that. The Bible say you should be you're a separate people. You're a holy people, and if you will put your faith in the Lord, He's gonna provide all that you need. Go ahead.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well.
That pleased them well. It's like, yeah, we should join these heathens. And if everybody was like, yeah, you know. Go ahead.
Yeah. 13.
13. For certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
The king gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, meaning this. The king is just like America. The king said, you know what? It's legal here to smoke weed. Guess what Israelites do? We go and smoke weed. It's legal for you to be, if you want to be a homosexual, it's fine. You go and be a homosexual. You following after the ordinances of the heathen.
Right.
That's not just America. That's been around since forever. Anytime we fall under the captivity of another nation, we follow after their ways instead of our own ways. What Israelites should do and what we should say is, damn that. I don't care if it is legal to be a homosexual here. I'm not going to be a homosexual because the laws of God say that I can't be a homosexual.
That's right.
I can't smoke.
Right.
I can't abort my baby, none of that. So everything, anytime something is made legal under these heathens, we just go and have at it. That's not what the Lord wants us to do. And so in this example, we went after the ordinances of the ways of the heathen, just like we do here in America. Go ahead.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise.
They built a place of what?
Exercise.
They built a place of exercise. You'll see that in Greek and in Rome. Like, it's very popular for them. Like, that's how they, if you go back and you study that, that's how they appease the people. Anytime the people was talking about, raising up and coming against the government because they were poor and hungry, they throw a parade. They throw people in the Coliseum. They'll have a big festival and they'll feed the people some little trinkets and some food and have some sport, and people will forget all about it. And that's how you appease the people, because people are like lost sheep, especially Israelites. You give them a trinket and they're like, oh, well, we good. Caesar love us. Man, he threw us we got the Coliseum games and all this. Go ahead.
It's like it's like the stimulus check.
It's like, well, in this specific case, it's talking about sports. So a lot of times what you'll see, just like, we were just talking about football earlier, these things are put in really, football does nothing for most people, right? For the people that play and the people who own the teams and they sell merchandise, yeah, they getting bread. But for you and me, that's football ain't doing nothing for you. But enjoyment is taking your mind off the important things that's happening all around you. Go ahead.
And if I could, that's exactly so. Football does exactly what this was supposed to do. Meaning, instead of us, and obviously it's not for us, but instead of us concentrating on trying to figure out how to overcome this oppression, Now, my favorite team is this. My favorite team is that. Okay, well, let's put our energy into that, and then after that, we'll go drinking, forget about everything, forget about life. That's what this was supposed to do, and that's where they get giving us basketball, football, and sports like that today.
That's where it came from.
Exactly, and the Olympics, because they rather us put all our efforts and thoughts and energy into that than into ourselves and trying to get out this oppression. But they also
go ahead.
The only thing I was gonna say, but they also know we as men, they know naturally Black, Hispanic, and Native American men naturally have high testosterone. We stay riled up. It's not hard to get us riled up. So now, instead of having them riled up, get out of control, we'll control them riling up. Now it's be ready. You know what I'm saying? Now we put them on the football field. Go do that all you want. But don't be we ready in the streets trying to overcome the government or overcome this oppression. Don't do that.
Right.
But you can't do it on that football field or that basketball court. Feel free to do that. That's all this is.
Right. And you got to think about how many people, not to spend too much time on this, but you got to think about how many people they focus their whole life, right, on being a fan.
Right.
I'm a fan during football season, basketball season, baseball season, shit, even soccer now.
Right.
So all this stuff is geared toward keeping your mind off what's really important, and that's serving the Lord.
So real quick, if I may,
Go ahead.
Too much. Like boxing, all that.
All that.
Read that part. Read that part again.
Go ahead. Where you was at?
This is First Maccabees chapter 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise.
This ain't nothing new. A place of exercise can be boxing, can be track and field, can be football, basketball, baseball, anything. These Greeks, they knew what was up. They knew how to take people's mind off the real trouble, which is why am I oppressed? Why am I starving? Why am I not getting adequate education for my kids? Why is my housing less than the rich? The same things that's happening now was happening during this time. Go ahead.
If I could, real quick. Anything that exerts a lot of energy, like every sport, you understand, that's what it's there for. It's not there to show who's the best athlete. They know we the best athletes. That's not a question to them. They know that. That's why they always look after us. That's why they always go to the hood to go scout and recruit and all that. Believe me, at them dating games, trouble, I see all type of scouts and coaches there. But what they don't want you to do is take that energy and to put it into your community, to put it into yourself, and to put it into your people. That's what this is about. And America, this is why they call America the daughter. You know what I'm saying? Meaning it took from this and it fashioned this even better to where now not only am I going to make sport, but now this sport you can make a living out of. So now your whole focus from the time you 6-7 years old is to get into this sport. That whole energy you should be putting into this, you're putting into that sport. That's the only thing you care about. Boxers from 6, 7, and 10 years old. Basketball players, football players, all of them. Right. So now they're not even thinking about the reality of life. Right. They're just thinking about that.
Let's keep reading.
Wherefore they built the place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
According to the customs of the who?
The heathen.
Go ahead.
Verse 15. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief.
How do you uncircumcise yourself? No. Go ahead. You gotta raise your hand.
So you uncircumcise yourself by not going with our customs, doing the law, such commands.
That's exactly right. It ain't talking about a physical circumcision. Once you take that foreskin off, it's gone. But guess what? You can uncircumcise your heart, which is what's more important than circumcising your physical, your anatomy. It's easy for that to be circumcised, and you say, "Oh, look, I'm keeping the laws. I'm circumcised." But guess what? The Lord wants your heart to be circumcised.
Right.
You was gonna say something, Isaiah, or you had a question? Let's keep going.
Verse 16. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt. Hold on, I ain't got my glasses. Okay, he supposed to reign over Egypt that he might have dominion over the realms of the two realms. Keep going. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude with chariots, elephants, horsemen, and a great navy, and were made war against the Ptolemy, king of Egypt.
Ptolemy was one of Alexander's generals. So you talk about the 4 generals that divided up the land that Alexander conquered. Ptolemy was one of his generals.
So he took because when he died, he had reign over one.
Right,
of the-
Ptolemy
over
had
Egypt,
reign
right?
over Egypt and that territory.
But Ptolemy, how you say
Ptolemy.
it? But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt and took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antinochus had smitten Egypt, and he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel, Jerusalem, with a great multitude.
He went up against us with a great multitude. Go ahead.
And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar.
So hold on. This heathen, right? This heathen entered into what's you need something? You 12?
Yeah.
So he entered boldly into the sanctuary, right? One, there's no heathens allowed in our sanctuary. So it's defiled at that point. Go ahead.
And took the golden altar and the candlestick of the light.
He took the what?
The golden altar.
He took the altar, go ahead, which was golden.
And the candlestick.
And the candlestick, which was what? Which was the menorah. Raise your hand next time. Which was the menorah. Go ahead.
Of light. And all the vessels thereof.
All the vessels that we use with the oils and wine and all that stuff. Go ahead.
And the table of showbread. And the pouring vessels.
Right. All the pouring vessels. Go ahead.
And the vials.
All the vials.
And the censers. Of the gold.
Right, the censers are for all the incense that we would put in them to burn.
And the veil. And the crown. And the golden ornaments.
Listen to all the gold and everything that they was taking out of here. First, they defiled it by the heathen walked into some place that was sacred to us. And then they start stealing from us. Go ahead.
The golden golden ornaments that were before the temple, and all which he had pulled off.
No sweat. And if I could, real quick, this is why they had to give us sport. They knew they was gonna do this. You understand? But if we got sport, most of our warriors are tied up in what?
Sports.
Right. Our LeBron, our 6'8", 290, 4'4", 40s, strong as an ox. They tied up trying to shoot a basketball.
Right.
They tied up trying to run a football.
Right.
So as long as I got most of them gone, I can go do this. They not no more worried about the work of the Lord. They not no more, you know what I'm saying? That LeBron James, he would have been focused on the altar back in the biblical. Well, I hate saying biblical days because he's still there, but back in those days, you understand? Before this. But now that I got all them tied up in trying to be the best athlete, that's what. Now you can come spoil the altar, right? And ain't nobody doing nothing about it, at least at this point. As we're gonna read on, obviously something's gonna go down. But at this point, it's open. It's all game. And this is something that we got to take personal. We let heathens into our altar, man. We let heathens into our place of worship. We let heathens try to get next to our God, man. We got to take that personal, man. That's gotta that has to rise something up in you like an Old State Michigan game. You understand? That has to.
And look, that's what you're saying is heavy, because that same passion that you're supposed to have for watching Michigan State and watching whoever your team is and them losing or winning. That passion should be what you have for the Lord and the Lord's work, right? It's easy for you to say, I'm not interested in learning the truth. Just like when we talk to cats on the streets, we talk to them and, oh man, y'all just talking about that old Bible. Well, guess what? That person is more interested in watching a football game or watching, trying to get money or trying to smoke weed than actually building a nation, which is much more important. Because if you look at it, there's a war. We see it in here. There's a war that's happening against Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Right. Every day you can read the news about some offense that this nation has done to us. But instead of being concerned about the true thing at hand, we're concerned about sports. We're concerned about, how many women we're going to sleep with, how much money we're going to get. All right, so let's keep going.
He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found.
Tell him where you at.
6. I'm on 24.
And when he had taken all away,
tell him where you at.
Read chapter verse.
No,
read
chapter
verse.
Too many teachers.
Sorry.
Where you at?
So it's First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 24. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre.
So not only did he defile the temple, he stole out the temple, and he made a great massacre. Go ahead.
And spoken very proudly.
He was speaking just like they do today.
Mhm.
Like they don't give a damn about. Think about the Kyle Rittenhouse, even though he didn't kill niggas, right? Think about how proud he was, how everybody taking pictures with him, and like he just, he did something great for the nation. That gave him confidence. He's like, man, I killed people and I got away with it. I was found not guilty. Like, and his true intentions was to go murder black people at the Black Lives Matter rally that was there. Right. And so he got off and he's proud of that. And people, these Edomites taking pictures with him, and it's like, it's something that's high on there, it's like, for them, it's like a win. Like what you felt like when OJ got off. You know what I mean? When OJ got off, black people was like, yeah, that's how they feel about Kyle Rittenhouse. And they feel good about the murder that he committed. Right? That's the spirit on these Edomites. Go ahead.
Verse 25. Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel.
It's a great morning, man. That's how it should be for us. But of course, we're asleep. That's why Ezekiel said, when the Lord asked Ezekiel, can these bones live? He said, thou knowest, Lord. Only you know will these niggas wake up from their slumber.
Right.
Only you know, like, will they just, will they ever stop smoking weed? Thou knowest, Lord. Only you know what it's going to take to rouse up these people and to wake them up into a great and exceeding army. Go ahead.
In every place where they were.
Go ahead, yo.
Verse 26.
No, real quick. I mean, that also reminds me in Isaiah where he said, I've given you the spirit of deep sleep. They probably didn't they was in a deep sleep then, but they didn't realize how bad this was going to get. See, what our people don't realize is our disobedience takes us away from the Most High God in ways that you can understand. It takes you away from yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore. That's how bad this got. Like, at least then they knew who they were. They just wanted to smoke weed, do whatever they, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm proud to be an African American. Do you know how silly that sounds? Do you realize how silly that sounds? I'm proud to be an African American. That is like the most simplest thing you can say, because you have no proof or any understanding of who that is before slavery. But you say it proudly. And that's who we are going against. I mean, not going against, but that's the spirit we're trying to get our people out of.
You sure got it right, because we go against these people. We come up against principalities, like the scripture say. The scripture say this: your battle is not carnal but spiritual. When you coming up against principalities and strongholds, that being an African American, that's a stronghold on our people. Them saying, the Bible is a white man's book, that's a stronghold on our people. Like all these things that we come up against, it ain't necessarily going on the corner and punching somebody in the mouth and say, believe the Lord. We ain't doing none of that. It's like you have to stop smoking weed or the Lord is going to kill you. You can't be a homosexual or the Lord is going to kill you. You can't serve this oppressor or the Lord is going to kill you. Those are all spiritual battles that we go up against. Let's keep going before we get bogged down.
First Maccabees 1, verse 26. So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed.
The beauty of women is changed. It's like you fine, and you just sitting up there and you sad. Like nobody, the virgins, the princes, everybody was like, man, we've been destroyed, we've been conquered. So much so that when you try to compare it to today's time, it's not even like people in such a deep sleep now. Is like they don't even realize that we conquered and destroyed. At least back then we knew we was conquered and destroyed. But now it's like, well, this is life. That's what most black people think. This is life in America.
And if I could, real quick, how we knew? We seen somebody that didn't look like us ruling us. That's all it took. Like now, we gladly go stand in line for 4 or 5 hours to go vote for somebody that don't look like us, ain't never been through nothing we've been through, ain't never been in our neighborhood, ain't gonna never be there, gonna never care. And we go vote for them as if that's gonna make a change with us. But back then, all it took was seeing somebody that don't look like us, and we knew. That's how far we are now. Remember, they were destroyed then. Imagine what we are now. That's how far we are. So the majority of our people love to go vote for people that don't look like them. When they already knew. Shoot, they don't look like me. We destroyed. Something wrong. Something ain't right.
Right.
That's what it is. It's sad, man.
Go ahead.
Verse 27. Every bridegroom took up lamentation.
Lamentation means to lament or to mourn. Go ahead.
And she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Even women that was in the marriage chambers, like, I don't even feel like it.
Okay.
That's how heavy it was. You know what the marriage chamber is?
Right.
The bedroom. The bedroom. Women that sat in there who loved their man and wanted to have sex with their man was even in, like, imagine being so crushed, like you don't even want to be intimate with your spouse. Like, everybody was crushed. It talked about the virgins, it talked about the women in the bed chamber, it talked about the princes. Everybody was crushed.
We need to get back to that spirit because not so much that we shouldn't be loving each other, but to the understanding that we are in this predicament now. Like, nothing has changed. If anything, it's worsened. You understand? Like, if they seen it at this point, imagine what we should be doing at this point we're at now. You understand? We got to get that in our minds.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent chief collectors of tribute unto the cities of Judah.
So not only was we destroyed, not only was we in mourning and lamentation, they sent tribute collectors. So now we got to pay. We done got our ass whooping. Now we got to pay too.
To live on our own land.
Go ahead.
Who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude and spake peaceable words unto them.
They spake peaceable words. Somebody grab me Psalms 55 and 21.
And if I could real quick, you got to understand, all this started with what? Let us go make what with the heathen? Go ahead.
Peace with the heathen.
Right, go make peace. Let's go make covenants with the heathen. You gotta understand, when you're trying to mix with the heathen, we always gonna lose in that because we're not made to mix. We're made to be on our own. We're made to be us. Same thing that happened with the Native Americans. As soon as they came over here and they started what? Trying to make treaties, like we was reading in class. But how many treaties they keep? The heathen ain't keep not one treaty. Over 500 treaties. Over 500 treaties. They not keep one treaty. But guess what? That's who they are. You can't expect them to keep covenants and treaties with us because they are the disgusting of the earth. They're not going to be true, but it's up to us to deal with us and to build us up, man. Not the heathen, man.
Yeah, all right. Let me get Psalms 55 and 21.
Psalm chapter 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Butter smooth. It runs down, melts. It's delicious. Go ahead.
But war was in his heart.
That's really, it's saying one thing and meaning something else. Go ahead.
Okay. His words were softer than oil. Yet were they drawn swords.
Drawn swords, meaning they're ready to fight, ready to stab you in the back. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 22. Cast thy burden upon the Lord.
No, that's it. You can drop that. Take me back to the scripture.
This First Maccabees.
Hey, Shalom.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 30. And he spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit.
Go ahead.
Not that chair. That was broke.
For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore.
Right. So he smote the city very sore. I mean, he came up against the city and destroyed, what was there. Go ahead.
And destroyed much people of Israel.
Right. He destroyed a lot of Israelites. Keep going.
And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire.
Right. So he plundered the city, but he set it on fire. Keep going.
And pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive.
Right. Which is usually what happens when you're conquered by people. They take the women and children and they destroy the men. Keep going.
Call chapter verse real quick. I'm sorry.
It's First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 32. But they took the women and children, but the women and children they took captive and possessed the cattle. Verse 33. Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers and made it a stronghold for them.
So they took Jerusalem, right? That's the city of David, Jerusalem, and they made it a stronghold for them. Total disrespect is what's going on here. They're taking, not only defiled our temple, murdered our people, took everything up out of our temple, right? Now they have it as a stronghold. The city is a stronghold for themselves. Keep going.
Verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men,
right?
And fortified themselves therein.
Right. So they got heathens in there. They fortified the city, and all the men, not all the men, but a lot of the men were destroyed. The women and the children were taken captive. Everything stolen and burned and plundered. And now they got a sinful nation, heathens in our city. Go ahead.
So ain't that what like Babylon or America do right now to conquer somebody, put Air Force bases within their countries?
I mean, I wouldn't compare it to this. Yes, that is what they do, but it's different from what happened here. Sometimes they don't conquer the people; they just establish their relationship with them, and then they set up an Air Force base.
And if I could, real quick, you could look at this as the same thing they did with the natives. Whereas a lot of the older men, we was reading this the other day. A lot of the older men, like 13 or 15 or older, they would kill. But if you were younger than that, they would keep you. And the women and children, they would raise up to be what they wanted them to be, whereas they would kill the older men.
Why?
You know what I'm saying?
Why did they? Why? What he just said? Why would they keep the men younger? Go ahead, Takan.
It's for the purposes of if you're younger than I would say 12 or 11, you have really no knowledge of the world yet. You have no knowledge of what you was taught yet. So
you want it right there. Right. You want it right there. It's easy for you to be brought up and taught what they want to teach you, as opposed to if you're an old man, you know, you've been around, especially if you was an Israelite already, you already got your customs and understanding what you want to do or what you get accomplished. Right. But if you're young, you can be trained up in, you know, in different things. Let's keep going.
Verse 35. They stored it also with armor and victuals.
Victuals.
It's like victuals.
You know what that is?
No,
somebody look it up. Let's get the definition. Victuals.
Next time you'll have to come in and visit, okay? All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Supplies of foods or
Go ahead. That's all it is. Let's keep going.
And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare. Verse 36. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
Right.
Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made.
We had to flee. The inhabitants of Israel had to flee. Keep going.
Whereupon the city was made an inhabitants of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her.
Now, people would have said, the city became strange to those that was born there. Like, you just imagine you going in a city that you grew up in and you looked around, you see heathens, you see customs that's being kept that wasn't kept before.
Right.
People eating pork. You like, damn, is he eating pork in Jerusalem?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the things that was happening here.
Roasted?
Right. The things that was happening here was vile and disgusting. So much so that the people that grew up there, it was strange.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, and her own children left her. Verse 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness, and her feast was turned into mourning. Her Sabbath into reproach, her honor into contempt. Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased.
Right. That's like, you imagine the glory in Jerusalem and how sanctified everything was. And now that same glory, that's how dishonorable it was. The same glory it had was the equal amount of dishonor that it had. Keep going.
And her excellency was turned into mourning. Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his law.
Why does that sound familiar? Ain't that American?
God.
Everybody American. Oh, we all the same. It's all the red, white, and the blue. Ain't that what it's about?
God.
It's all about, I'm gonna come to you. It's all about the red, white. We all bleed red. Everybody's an American. You got the same opportunity, the American dream. That's that same spirit that America has, is for everybody to be one. That's why it's called the daughter of Babylon too. It's called the daughter of Babylon because Babylon was the land of confusion where you saw everything turned upside down.
Oh, God.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, that's why they call it the melting pot. We're all one human race. That's the only race I see. If that's the only race you see, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not made for war. You're not made for the Lord. If you only see one race, the Lord, you gotta understand, the Lord created every race. So obviously he doesn't see one race. He created all of them. If he did, we all kind of blend in and look alike. We don't. The Lord made 18 different nations. So therefore, I see 18 different nations. That's what it is. You understand? If you're of the Lord. If you're not, and guess what? Esau, he wants you to see all one people. You know why? Because as long as it's all one people, he stay on top.
Right.
He ruled all one people. But as soon as you start to get strong within yourselves, especially Israel, that's when Israel ruled.
Right.
You understand? Because can't nobody stand like we stand when we stand on what we stand on.
Right.
And we got to get back to that, specifically as men. Our women will follow. But us men have to stand on that. You understand? Christ.
Let's keep going.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites considered.
Many also of the who?
Israelites.
Keep going.
Considered to his religion.
Right.
And sanctified and sacrificed unto idols.
They did what?
Sacrifice unto idols.
That's what they did. That's what we're doing today. When you had that Thanksgiving dinner, you was eating all that good dressing and that ham. Guess what you was doing? You was sacrificing unto idols.
Right.
Guess what you're gonna be doing when Christmas come up? You're gonna be sacrificing unto idols.
Right.
All these things. New Year's. Guess what you're gonna be doing?
Oh yeah.
Sacrificing unto idols. That's it.
A couple of them on New Year's.
That's why it's important for us to come out of these man-made things that we follow, that we have no understanding of the origins of them. You would understand, like y'all don't say, you understand if you knew anything about history. You celebrate New Year's, you got several gods. Christmas, you got Nimrod. Thanksgiving, you serving after Esau, really.
Yeah,
You're oppressor.
That's literally,
Let's keep going.
If I could, real quick. I just want, when it said, and several of the Israelites followed, understand, be thankful that we have leaders like our generals. I'm gonna be honest, because our leaders will never fall for that. You understand? Our leaders will die before that. They like Captain Akar said, me and my niggas started arguing on who's gonna bite the bullet. Right. That's what would have been going on down here. You understand? Just like the sister, also in the Bible, the sister and her 6 or 7 sons. Yeah, I think what was it? 7 sons? Right. Yeah, we would have been on that. That's what if we had the leadership we got today in ISUPK. So be thankful for that and make sure you fall under that leadership and always adhere to it.
Right.
Look, it's hardcore, man, because in here we so hardcore. Not only are we not going to join to anybody else, you can't even come in here if you're not in the bloodline.
Right.
You ain't even welcome to class.
Right.
So let alone us trying to establish a covenant with you. You can't even come around.
Can't even sit at the table to talk of a covenant.
You don't listen. We're gonna look at you like you an alien, which you are.
Damn right.
Let's keep going.
And profane the Sabbath.
They profane the Sabbath, which is what Christians do all the time. They call in the Sabbath Sunday, which of course that's the worship of the sun god. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbaths.
That they should what?
Profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Right.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
And pollute the sanctuary. It was one time where the temple was sacred, man. You couldn't have heathens in there. You couldn't do anything. Like a woman could never come into the temple unclean. Right. Like there's things that the temple stood for. Like, and that's Israel. Like we have a set of laws, statutes, and commandments that we follow. Right. But the heathen, they, whatever you want to do, they defile the temple in any kind of way you could think of. Heathens in the temple, sacrificing on the idols, eating pork, everything was in there. Anything went. Keep going.
Verse 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts.
They sacrifice swine's flesh in our temple. Keep going.
Verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable.
Right.
All manner of uncleanness.
Right. So they didn't even circumcise the children. Of course, the scriptures say you got to circumcise circumcise the children on the 8th day. You got a male child, you're gonna circumcise them on the 8th day. Go ahead.
And profanation.
Where you at?
Profanation right here.
Okay, and profanation.
That's what it is.
Verse 49. To the end that they might forget the law.
That's what wanted to happen. It's easy. See, that's when we go out on the street. I'm gonna come to you. When we go out on the street, people don't even want to hear say anything about the law. Oh, y'all talking about that Bible.
Right.
Nobody wants to fix themselves. Nobody. You think it's easy to give up weed? You ever smoked weed before? It's delicious. Who wants to give up weed? No, don't nobody want to give up weed. Have you tasted weed? Weed's from the earth, man. That's what they say.
All right.
They pull out that smoky real fast. Nobody wants to change. Brothers like sleeping with whores. You think they want to give up sleeping with whores?
Smokey became a
Listen,
Bible verse.
do they want to give? They want to give that up? They're not giving it up. When we go out there, that's why people look at us. They know what we're saying is right, and the people who get mad, they're convicted in the spirit. They're convicted because they know they're at home sleeping with whores, smoking weed, aborting their babies, being whores, molesting children. When we say those things, they come up and they get mad at the camp and they say, well, why y'all saying it this way? And then they really is something that they doing that they don't want to give up.
Right.
And that's really it. It's like people don't want to change. The thing is, the Lord is going to make you change.
Right.
The Lord is going to destroy you. That's why I said I was in the camp. I'm like, you think the Lord is here so you can get a blessing? Guess what? The Bible says if you don't follow the Lord, he will destroy you.
Right.
Right.
And that's it. That's the bottom line. Go ahead, yo, bro.
Real quick. It says to the end that they might forget the law, change all of the ordinances. You gotta understand, it's the same spirit with America. America got all these laws and they change them to get further and further away from the Most High. Because America understands one thing. I got the people of Israel on a rope. Whatever I do, they're gonna go with. I mean, 50, 60, 70 years ago, you could not get them to understand anybody could be gay. You couldn't. I give them that. They wouldn't have went for that. But now, you can be as gay as you want to. You can even change your gender. You understand? Because America understands that they have the people on the rope. Well, what's the purpose of that? Because the further I get you away from the Most High and his laws, the easier it is to keep you on that rope. And this is the same thing that they were doing back then. Once they broke us down, once they defiled our altar, once they tore down our strong men and everything like that, they went straight to the laws. And as soon as you change these laws, the laws is what you live by. So whatever you live by, that's truly who you are. Well, guess what? They seen that we was willing to do this, and that's what they did. But this is why it's important for us as men of the Lord that represent the Lord to profess and live by the laws of God.
Right.
And
we got to be that strong arm.
And that's heavy too, because it's easy to look at how far we progress away from morality. Like you were saying, someone who practiced homosexuality back in the day came out the closet. Now there's nobody in the closet.
No closet.
There is no closet. And pretty soon, like Commander Gianna said, pretty soon it'll be homosexuality is an acceptable thing. Next is going to be child molestation. That's going to be the acceptable thing. I'm going to keep going just for time's sake because we run out of time. Let's keep going.
Okay. Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die.
So he even took it a step further. This heathen king was like, if you don't do after my ordinances, you're gonna die. This is where you couldn't even be an Israelite. So this is really how Black people, Hispanics, and Native Americans got away from understanding who they were. Things like this that these heathen kings implemented. You don't even know. Like you get to a point where you know you're Israelite, you're practicing in secret. Now if you get caught, you're gonna die. So that don't motivate a lot of people to keep the Lord's laws. Of course, we're in the ISUBK, we know better than that. We don't give a damn about nothing. You understand? We'll run through a damn brick wall to keep these laws.
Damn right.
Keep going.
Verse 51. In the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah, to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit everyone that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land.
That's what happened. Keep going.
And drove the Israelites into secret places, when wheresoever they could flee or succor.
Right, and this is how you got, this is how you got things like the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is how you got things that's hidden, where brothers had to, you fleeing and hiding from persecution, and you had to, hold on to what you had. You go you go store these in the cave. You go hide certain artifacts or certain scrolls, like things that are being uncovered in the earth. It wasn't because somebody just thought it was a good place to keep it. Nigga, you fleeing,
Right.
you hiding stuff. You want to hold on to what you got. And so I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm saying that's how things like that happen. You understand? Because we had to go into hiding. You couldn't just profess yourself. That's what I think we'll get to it in a minute. No man could even profess himself to be a Jew.
Right.
It was unlawful for you to be a Jew. Keep going.
Verse 54. Now, the 15th day of the month, Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and built altars. And built idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any the books of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
Now feel that for a second. Here you is in America where you're not being oppressed any for keeping the law. If you don't want to smoke weed, you don't have to smoke weed. If you want to call yourself a Jew, you can. It's freedom of religion here. You ain't under any kind of oppression to do anything, right? And you still won't do right. But the brothers during this time, they couldn't.
Right.
They couldn't. You had to be a Jew in secret. You couldn't proclaim nothing. The king's order was to put you to death. And here you are in America, and you don't want to grab hold of your heritage.
Right.
You need to check yourself, man. You need to come into this truth and get some strength, and we'll show you how you can profess yourself to be a Jew and more.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 58. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now, the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. Verse 60. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
So these women, they circumcised their sons. And so they put these women to death. Go ahead.
Verse 61.
Now, how they found this out, I do not know. But listen, you want to talk about, people in your business. This is next level.
It's like, if I could, I just want you to realize that 25th day, that was the 5 and 20th day. The 25th is the date that they've had since even back then. You understand? The 25th, and
even before then.
Right. The 25th day of the month has always been something that idol worshippers hold precious. And as you see, they were still doing it here with their idols. So that 25th day don't represent nothing good to us. Understand that.
Keep going.
Verse 61. And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses.
You can see that same brutality here in America. You can see a 12-year-old boy get shot down in the street with a toy gun. You see that. You see kids being shot on the street, strangled, snatched up, being put in chains, being put in handcuffs in elementary school. You can see the same beast exist on the earth today, that same spirit. Keep going.
And slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
Right.
Wherefore, the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats.
Now check the spirit of these brothers. These brothers like, I don't give a damn. I ain't eating anything that's going to defile me. Right. and you can't get enough of ham. You can't get enough of them hog maws.
Right.
When the Lord told you them hog maws is good. Well, the Bible say all you got to do is pray over it. Well, why don't you just kill your dog? That's meat. Just eat your dog. It's lawful. Go ahead and enjoy.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 63. Wherefore, hold on, Sluggy.
You can go ahead and read from that.
Yeah. Verse 6, wherefore, the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meat, and that they might not profane the holy covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So then they died, and there was a very great wrath upon Israel.
Takana, I'm gonna have you pick it up from there. Let's pick up in chapter 2, verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias.
Mattathias.
Mattathias, the son of John.
A famous name in Israel.
I was say that's a mighty brother.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, wait till we get to a son. That's my favorite.
The son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jorid.
Jorid,
Jorid, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. Verse 2. He had 5 sons.
Mm-hmm.
Jonin, called Cadis. Simeon, called Thassi. Judas, who was called Maccabees.
Mm-hmm.
Eliezer, called Avaron. And Jonathan, whose surname was Apis.
That's good. Keep going.
Apis. Verse 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem.
When he saw what?
The blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem.
He saw what was going on, man. He saw the Israelites being murdered. He saw people not being able to profess themselves a Jew. He saw people eating abominations. He saw when he walked in, the scriptures say when people who grew up in the city walked in the city, it was strange to them. They're like, what is going on here? So this brother right here, he saw this. Keep going.
Verse 7. He said, woe is me.
Woe is destruction to me, man.
Wherefore was I born to see the misery of my people.
Right? This is a brother who had compassion on his people.
And of the holy city.
Mm-hmm.
And to dwell there. When it was delivered into the hand of the enemy.
Right.
And the sanctuary into the hand of strangers.
Strangers, man. There's strangers in this land. Keep going.
Verse 8. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity.
They carried away. They took all that.
Her infants are slain in the streets.
That's what they just said. They hung the infants because they were circumcised. Keep going.
Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
Mm-hmm. They taking up arms against their own people. Keep going.
Verse 10. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
Right. What nation didn't take a part in trying to destroy Jerusalem? Or Israel, I should say. Keep going.
All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she is become a bond slave. Verse 12. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste.
Right.
And the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer?
Right. You know what's funny? When anytime somebody talking about the scriptures and how Gentiles can be saved, they never go back to scriptures like this. Read that part again.
Right.
To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer?
Read up just above that with the Gentiles.
And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste.
Mm-hmm.
And the Gentiles.
And the who?
And the Gentiles.
And the who?
And the Gentiles.
Now, where's all this talk about the Gentiles can be saved now? Everybody want to save the Gentiles, but they don't understand even what a Gentile is.
Right.
All you got to do is read the Bible dictionary. Tell you sometimes refers to a non-Israelite. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. In this scenario, the Bible is all context. If you read anything out of context, you're not going to understand it.
Right.
These Gentiles were heathens who came and defiled our temple, killed our babies, killed our people, took away our women and children, slayed the men. So where's all the saving, right? You want to save these people? I don't.
Right.
Go ahead.
Why would the Lord have mercy on people who disrespected him to the utmost?
Blasphemy.
Do you understand what these people did? It wasn't just to us. This is to the Lord. You understand the scripture talks about how when you don't love the children, you can't love the Lord. They disrespected the Lord to the furthest of extents. And right, everything you could have did, they did. Now you think the Lord wants to save them for what? If he gonna have destruction on anybody, I would think it would be them. Right. It doesn't make sense for them to be any more mad at anybody else than them. Look at what they did. The babies, the infants. Women, how do you have an anger towards an infant? What could a child do that makes you want to hang him? This is who these people are, man.
And if I could,
and they still that way today, man. So like
same thing in America. Same thing that happens today. Damn right. Ain't nothing changed. The same spirit that's on the heathens now was on the heathens then.
Right.
Nothing is different from what they do. The only reason they don't do it as much now is because they want to keep the slaves. They got a good thing going with this empire. You know, like if they just came and just killed you all, who gonna sweep the streets? Who gonna unclog the toilets? Right. You understand? Who's gonna work at Walmart and McDonald's? They not. All them businesses going out of business. There's only you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans willing and meth heads that are Edomites. The ones who didn't fell on a hard time from doing too much meth. That's, you understand? You ain't got, your corporate guy, he ain't going. You think he gonna give up his corporate job to work in McDonald's? He's not. McDonald's is going out of business if they kill all you niggas. They gotta have some semblance of a lower class here in America.
Right.
Let's keep going.
Go. First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 14. Then Matthias and his sons rent their clothes.
They rent their clothes, as was tradition and as was a custom in Israel. When you in lamentation, you rent your clothes, meaning you tore your clothes and you put on sackcloth, meaning raggedy clothes, and you put ashes on your head. Keep going.
And put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. Verse 15. In the mean, while the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city motive to make them sacrifice. Verse 16. And when many of Israel came unto them, Matthias also and his sons came together. Verse 17. Then answered the king's officers and said to Matthias in this wise, thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Verse 18.
You better recognize.
Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done ye, and the man of Judah also.
So why is he asking him this? What would be the benefit? No. Go ahead.
To try to get the strong person of Israel on his team.
Exactly. That's it. It's like anytime you want to sway the people, what do? They go get Jesse Jackson. They go get Al Sharpton, somebody with a voice. Now they kind of losing their voice here in these latter years, right? But initially, like them was the people to go and get. Why? Because they marched with Martin Luther King and they have a voice for the people. So what do? Get them on your side. Let them go talk to the people. And instead of them brothers being strong and saying, no, hell no, I ain't gonna join you. Me and my people, we ain't bowing down, we ain't joining, we ain't doing none of that. Instead, they join with them. It's like, okay, it's like Jesse Jackson stands moved from, no, you ain't supposed to abort your baby. Jesse was a pastor,
like in the 90s,
right?
Like that, right?
And then before he went to run for president, what did he say? Yeah, it's a woman's choice. Like choice. He definitely went, like he changed his stance because he was joined together with the heathen instead of standing with the Lord. That's what he should have did. No, it's wrong to abort your baby. I don't give a damn if you don't want me to be your president. I ain't gonna tell you otherwise. He didn't stand with the Lord. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to get brothers who are weak, but have a strong voice. And so they can discourage the people. Keep going.
Verse 18. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathens have done. Yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends.
Right. She's saying, you're going to be my friend. I'm going to look upon you highly if you would do this. Keep going.
And thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold.
I'm going to give you gold and riches and silver. Go ahead.
And many rewards.
And many rewards. You get you a house, get you that new Maybach that you've been dreaming of, new PS5. or whatever you want, I got you. You're gonna be number one over here. I'm gonna hold you and your children down. Y'all gonna be rich and famous. Put you on some billboards. You sell yourself out. Listen, that was the perfect. This right here, you want to see how you get somebody to sell out? He's like, I'm gonna give you riches and glory and honor and gold, and you gonna be counted as friends of the king. Like back in the day, that's what you wanted. You wanted to be connected with somebody so you wouldn't starve to death, man. Food wasn't always as abundant as it is now. You just go into a grocery store now and on every corner. Food came by challenge, back in the day. You just couldn't. They didn't mass produce cows like they do now and chickens and all that, big ass farms with everything on it. So you wanted to eat. And so this was tempting. I'm sure it was. It's tempting. It would tempt me. But of course, I ain't, I know better now. Keep going.
Verse 19. Then Matthias answered and spake with a loud voice. Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments. Verse 20. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
Man, that's hardcore right
there.
Damn right. That's hardcore right there. He said, as for me and my house, we gonna serve the Lord.
That's right.
That's what he said. He said he offered him gold and silver and honor and glory and being a friend to the king and rewards and everything. He's like, I know that everybody, right? All these other people, they didn't bow down, they didn't become a friend of the king and they didn't gave up the customs and traditions of their fathers. But as for me and my house, we ain't going. Keep going.
Verse 21. God forbid.
God forbid. Hell no. He basically told them, hell no.
Right.
Keep going.
God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances.
You blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, remember that spirit. You need to be in that spirit every day.
Damn right.
When Esau tell you can smoke weed, say, damn that, man. I ain't smoking no weed. That's against what my father laid down for me. Aborting my baby, being a homosexual, being a harlot, any of that stuff, man. Whatever America says is okay, you can believe that it's not okay.
Right.
Go ahead, Yotam.
Hey, and what you seeing right here from these brothers right here, that we call that the Holy Spirit. That's the real Holy Spirit. None of that soft juju, kiss a baby on the forehead bullcrap.
Right.
This the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Meaning if we got to, we're going to die for this.
Right.
Hope you understand that this is all we live for right here. We'll die for this if we got to.
Right.
That's called the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
Now, that's what you got to be a part of. That's what you got to understand. That's what you got to live in. When you live in that, it's going to be hard to make you go against the Lord.
Right.
It's going to be hard. It's about it.
Damn right. Keep going.
Verse 22. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
Man, we ain't straying from this, not even an ounce. Keep going.
Verse 23. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Verse 24. Which thing when Matthias saw, he was inflamed with zeal.
Listen,
it is.
You want to talk about the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
When you see something that you know is against the Lord, now, of course, we can't go and do this now, right? But this brother saw something and he was inflamed. Imagine you listen to what the word that the Bible said. Imagine being inflamed. It's like this brother saw this and was like, nah, this is not right. Keep going.
He was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to shew his anger according to the judgment.
He couldn't forbear it. He could not withhold it. Keep going.
Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
Guess what he did? He killed that brother. He's like, you are blaspheming against the Most High, and it's righteous for me to kill you. He killed him. Keep going.
Verse 25. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time.
You know what? Look, get rid of this.
The king's commissioner. You want to commission people to commit sins, you got to go to. Go ahead.
So I remember we read this last year, but I still am confused. Like he just spoke and said, "Hey, I'm not doing this. I'm still following my commandments the Lord has given me." I'm still confused on why the brother still went after he said that.
What
the
you
brother
mean?
that he slew on the altar.
No. The brother that he slew on the altar was under the king. He was listening to the king.
Oh, okay. So
This is this is Mattathias that killed the brother. So Mattathias saw the brother, right? Imagine, or not imagine, but earlier in the scriptures, it was talking about there was Jews that went along with the king.
Right.
This was one of the brothers that went along with the king. He forsake our father's laws, statutes, and commandments, and he followed after the ordinances of the king. Go ahead.
So is this when he became Gentile?
Not necessarily. You were Gentile if you missed the Passover.
Okay.
You missed the Passover. If you wasn't circumcised on the 8th day, if you was if your mom was a heathen, you was a Gentile from then. You was kicked out. You was exiled out of the land of Israel. And then after generations, of course, you know, the further you moved, the further you didn't go back to. They just considered you, even though you was an Israelite by blood, they considered you a Gentile or a heathen or a stranger, right? So any of those things would apply to anybody who ever was kicked out of the nation.
So when the king was making us like do all these defiled things, and even when we was like, we're gonna join with them, that we was already Gentile.
Not necessarily. I mean, imagine you today, you know you're an Israelite, and then like America come and say, don't call yourself a Jew no more. Don't go out on that street corner no more. And everything you had to do, you had to practice in secret. Right? You would be like, of course, you would be like, nah, I ain't, you know, I'm gonna do what I want to do. But there'll be people that be like, nah, I can't do it. And then guess what we'll call them? You're a Gentile. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like you come into the knowledge and knowing who you are, that's what you are. But then you could easily give that up if you afraid of being persecuted, which is what a lot of our brothers and sisters had to go through, was persecution in order to, keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Keep going. Go ahead.
So the brother that went to the altar and tried to sacrifice the idol, he would be considered a Gentile. Mattathias and his people, they would be considered Israelites still.
Everybody was Israelites.
Well, that's why I said by faith. You see what I'm saying? Mattathias and his sons and his people, they were really ready to fight and die and live for these law statutes. The brother that went to sacrifice, he was willing to give it up just because the king made a decree.
Exactly. Yeah.
He would be considered the Gentile.
Exactly.
And Mattathias and his people would be considered the ones Israelites by faith.
I mean, he would be considered an Israelite too, because it wasn't like he didn't know who he was.
Well, that's why I said by faith. You see what I'm saying?
If you say by faith, then yes.
They all were Israelites.
Right.
Yeah, we get that, right? But by blood, yeah, that's what the scripture talks about by blood.
Go ahead.
Real quick, just sort of a coon to this day. Like we call it Jake or a coon.
I mean, he was definitely a coon for going. That's just like saying, who was the guy I saw on Facebook? The congressman Tim somebody. He was the one. He tried to shake Donald Trump's hand when he became president, and Donald Trump didn't shake his hand. And he was like, all goofy. You know what I'm saying? He is a coon. He's one that would have you join to America instead of trying. Candace Owens, anybody like that who wants you to join America, speaks bad of black trolls, black people, any opportunity they get, like those people would be the people like who go along with the king. Those would be, at least Gentiles. Like we're all considered, according to, at one point we were all Gentiles, but now we've come into the truth. They would just be wicked people of Israel if they came into the knowledge. But of course, Gentiles, not for sure.
And of course, that's the power of Christ. To bring those who want to come back. We come back because we all fell off into Gentile ways. But then Christ came and said, okay, I'm the standard. Who's going to live up to it? You willing to live up to it? All right, now you're Israel by faith. All of us are Israelites, but only a select few of us are Israel by faith. That's the difference. And
that's heavy too, because the scriptures say all those that are of Israel are not Israel. Right. Let's keep going so we can wrap it up.
Verse 26. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled man to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Verse 26. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Solomon.
That's the law.
Verse 27. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law.
Whosoever is what?
zealous of the law.
That's what you got to be. You got to be zealous of the law. You got to be. You know what a zealot is? Anybody know what a zealot is? Look it up.
Look it up. Y'all gotta go.
Go ahead, take a guess.
Like the Sakari, daggers, the Zealots. They would fight against the oppressors.
In more general terms. In more general terms, what's a zealot?
A radical.
A radical. That's it. That's what somebody who's like, you would look at somebody like they're a radical. Like, this person is crazy. Let's get the definition. It's an interesting definition. Zealot.
I think they got it.
Go ahead.
It's like zealous is marked by a fervent.
What?
A fervent.
Fervent. Go ahead.
Partisanship for a person,
Uh-huh.
a cause, or an idea.
This person is fervent. This person is after it. He's fanatical. He's zealous about it. That's what being zealous is. It's like somebody who's like all the way radical about it. When you see this person, like, he's like, man, this cat is strange. You see how much he liked that team? He came into the game naked with a damn Viking hat on and his chest was painted. He's zealous for this team. That's what he's saying. All the men that are zealous for the laws of the Lord. Go ahead.
And fervent, if you don't know, is very hot, or second definition, a great intensity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fervent is great intensity.
Mm-hmm. And so just for time's sake, we're gonna have to go ahead and drop down and get. If you haven't read the story of the Maccabees, you got to read it, man. It's this will give you motivation when you're weak. When you're having trouble in this truth, you should go back and read what these brothers and sisters did in the Maccabees and how they died and how they stood for the Lord, man, and didn't flinch. You know what I mean? Were put to death, right, in order to follow the Lord. And here we are in America, and the prophets and the priests and prophets are on the street trying to teach people what they should be doing. And instead, you shun us when our brothers and sisters died, so we would have this knowledge and wrote it down in this holy book.
Right.
So, for time's sake, we gonna let's go to 4 and 52 to get to the meat and potatoes of. But go back and read and finish up. What do we stopped at 3 and 26?
2 and 26.
2 and 26. Right. So go ahead and I would read at least to where we're getting ready to go. Read all the way from chapters 1 through 4. Read it all, but definitely for the story of the Feast of Dedication, read 1 through 4, the first through the 4th chapters to get the the rest of the backstory. Let's go to 4 and 52. Good. Whoever got to read it.
This is First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 52.
Mm-hmm.
Now on the 5 and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Calu, in the 148th year, they rose up bedtimes in the morning.
Betimes.
Oh yeah, betimes in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and offered a sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
Mm-hmm. So this is a new altar, man. After the altar was destroyed and defiled and abomination of desolation, they sacrificed swine's flesh on the altar. They said they made a new altar. Go ahead.
Verse 54. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that was it dedicated with song.
It was what?
Dedicated with song.
That's why we celebrating this, man, because our temple, our people, and our children, women, children, and men, women, and children, right? And everything that we held sacred was destroyed or defiled in some way. Right. And we got this altar and we rededicated it with song. Go ahead.
And chitherns.
And what?
And chitherns.
I forget what that is. I think it's some decoration. Let's look it up. See if you can look that up. I don't even know what the hell that is anymore. I think I looked it up at one time. I can't remember. Keep going, Sakan.
And chitherns and harps and cymbals.
Right. Oh, those are all musical instruments. Keep going.
Verse 55.
Go ahead, Sakan.
So a chithern or cithern or whatever they want to call it. It's basically another version of a guitar.
Gotcha. Okay.
Of a who?
Of a guitar.
They're all musical instruments. Okay. Keep going.
Verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces. worshiping and praising God of heaven,
Mm-hmm.
who had given them good success.
Right.
And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
They kept it what?
8 days.
They kept it for 8 days as we do today. The scripture says, rehearse the righteous acts. The scriptures also say things written aforetime were written for your learning. These things are for our learning, man. We're supposed to read these stories and get strength.
Right.
We're supposed to read these stories and see what brothers and sisters went through and see how they died for this so we could keep these same traditions and understand who we are as a people.
That's right.
Without this Bible, we don't know. We call ourselves African American,
Right.
Black, Negro, colored, all this stuff, man, that means
Right.
nothing.
Pan-African.
Pan-African, you call yourself, you be like, yeah, I'm from the Zulu Nation, brother. You ain't from nowhere. You from Philly. Shut up. You ain't from nowhere.
You from Philly.
What are you talking about? Like, without this Bible, man, we wouldn't know who we were. Of
Right.
course, you got a lot of people that come up against this Bible and say, y'all can't prove you Israelites. Saying, and them saying that is saying the same, like they can't prove that. How you from Egypt? Everybody couldn't have been Pharaoh.
Good Lord.
As far as I know, there was one Pharaoh.
Good Lord.
We all kings, really?
They definitely kept it all in the family.
Right. Right. So these cats, man, they don't understand. And that's cool. We're going to get out here, man. We're going to hit these streets and pound this pavement until
Right.
blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans wake up to this truth.
Yeah, I'm right.
Keep going.
And burnt offerings
Mm-hmm.
with gladness,
Mm-hmm.
and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold.
Right. And so this is also part of the Feast of Dedication. Of course, for the brothers in cities that have schools, right? Each year you're supposed to dress up the school, right? Which is the temple now. But the school is the temple, is where we go to learn. We don't call it a temple because with the Israelite school, universal practical knowledge, but it acts in the same manner. Like brothers decorate the school, they make sure that it's it looks good, smells good. There's food in there, just like we have. Clap it up for the sisters that made the wonderful food, and or donated. You know what I'm saying? Just good. So that's part of the ceremony too, or part of the dedication. Right? Keep going.
And with shields and the gates.
With what?
With shields
Mm-hmm.
and the gates and the chambers they renewed.
Mm-hmm.
And hanged.
Renew meaning they fixed the gates, right? Or if they were torn down or whatever, they fixed all this stuff, built it back up.
And hang doors upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 58. Thus was there a very great gladness among the people.
There was what?
A very great gladness among the people.
Go ahead.
For that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
All the vile and sinful and wicked things that the heathen had did, it was now put away because everything was made right. And we rededicated the temple. Keep going.
Verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained.
They did what?
Ordained.
Go ahead.
That the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season.
In their season, meaning the same time a year. Go ahead.
From year to year.
From year to year.
By the space of 8 days.
For 8 days. Go ahead.
From the 5 and 20th day of the month of Calcium with mirth and gladness.
With mirth and gladness in the same month every year for 8 days. Go ahead.
Verse 60. At that time also they built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down.
Right. So of course the city of David, Zion, Jerusalem, all the synonymous, right, was all built up, reinforced the walls, lest the heathens come tread it down again. Which goes to prove you can't just join hand in hand. You can't just live amongst everybody and expect you're gonna be safe.
Right.
You gotta have a stronghold, man.
Right.
You gotta have a place that's yours. If you don't, then what protection do you have?
Right.
You don't have any protection. Heathen can just come anytime and come through your neighborhoods. Guess what? If we was in Jerusalem, we'd have walls with a defense, with people on Shamar, armed brothers trained, ready for war. But what do your black leaders say? Oh, it's all love, brother. Everybody just come together.
Right.
Meanwhile, we being shot down in the street like dogs. This is the spirit we should be in right here.
Right.
Go ahead.
Lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 61. And they set there a garrison to keep it.
A garrison.
Garrison, it's like
Garrison is like a group of men or soldiers.
oh God. And fortified Bethshura to preserve it, that the people may have a defense against Idumea.
Against who?
Idumea,
aka Mount Seir, aka Esau, aka Edom, aka your oppressor. That's who we needed a defense against in the Maccabees, and we need a defense against them now, which is the same thing. Y'all think you wanted to add anything before we close it up?
No, it's just brothers, you know what I'm saying? We gotta get that. That's the spirit we gotta come in, man. Year round. I mean, we gotta understand this is a fight that to this day they still coming up against us with. You know what I'm saying? The fact that our families, our loved ones, they got the stronghold on them. They eating the pork. You know what I'm saying? They giving the abominations. They worshiping the idols. So it's up to us. We have to be even stronger in order to combat that. If you truly love who you say you love, if you truly love them, that's how you love them. You have to have that zeal. You understand? Like you broke that word down earlier. We got to have that zeal that Mattathias had. Well, we're ready to live, fight, and die for this. You understand? So we got to fight year in, year out to get to this point. And if you're not there, no sweat. But you fight to get to this point. Right. If you got to read this story once a week, once a month, whatever, read it. Do what you got to do to get to this point in this. Because that's what the Lord is looking for. Right. That's why the Lord said, I'm making a great and exceeding army, not a great and exceeding choir. Right. Say nothing about it. Right. I don't care what you sing. Right. You want to know that you're ready to go to war. Right. He said, I am not a man of instrumentals. He didn't say that. He said, I am a man of war. Right. Right. Do you want to be with him? If you do, no sweat. You got to get this zeal. This is what you got to get. This ain't just kicks and giggles, man. Right. We have fun and we're going to do that. When it's time to work, it's time to work. Right. So let's get this zeal in our camp. You know what I'm saying? In Southern Ohio. Let's grow. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue to build on this. This is a great feast day. You know what I'm saying? Feast of dedication. But, next year, let's have, we got 5-6 men in here. Let's have 10, 12. You understand? And it's going to take that zeal to get it to that point. That's all right. I got.
Damn right. And listen, this is what the Feast of Dedication is about. It's about stopping our oppressors from oppressing us. Right. Right. And what we had to sacrifice to do it. We had to sacrifice our lives to do it. And that's what it's going to take. A lot of people think song and dance or marching and voting is going to get your oppressor's foot off your neck. And it is not. These brothers went to war and died and bled so their children wouldn't be murdered, so their wives wouldn't be raped, so they wouldn't forced to eat things that they didn't want to eat. That's what it takes, man. That's the Feast of Dedication. That's what it was about. Rededicating the temple after destroying the Greeks and getting their foot off our necks. So any questions before I close it out? Go ahead.
So we celebrate this high holy day for 8 days.
It's not high, just to clarify, there's the high holy days are different from the feast days. So the high holy days are found in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, right? The high holy days, of course, Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Day of Atonement. Those are high holy days given to us in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. We have 2 feast days. First feast day is Purim, right? That's not a high holy day, but it's something that the Israelites memorialized. Of course, Purim was when we were going to be destroyed, right? Where the Israelites were going to be, wiped out. And of course, we memorialize that day. This is also a feast day. It's not a high holy day. But it's another day where we is being oppressed and wiped out. Just go back and read all the things that they were doing. They not only killed the men, they killed the infants. They took the women and children. They sacrificed pork in our, everything that we held sacred or that we love, they destroyed it. And so this is another day where it's like, man, we got to remember this day, because it's real heavy. So this is a feast day. That's why we're not doing a Sabbath service. So, of course, on a high holy day, we'll have Sabbath service and we'll call brothers up there, read Hebrew or what have you. So that's the difference.
So this feast day is celebrated for 8 days. So how do we exactly, I'm still trying to get used to celebration of these days. So
feast. Feast. I don't know if you know, but Israelites like to party. And feast. And really, man, feast, you want to get into these scriptures. read, you know, if you haven't read the Maccabees, you want to read the Maccabees, go to class and you know, definitely partake in any of the classes that the brothers got in person or online, right? And that's really how you want to celebrate it. And remember, and just keep in mind that the lessons that you learn out of here is like, again, it's easy to say that you love the Lord. It's another thing to die for what you believe in.
Right.
Right. That's really the spirit to be in, is to be willing to die for what you believe in. If you ain't got a cause like that, then you ain't got no real cause. You got maybe a hobby, you got something that's important to you, but you ain't got something that's near and dear to your heart if you ain't gonna die for it.
Right.
Like a lot of people, they say, I die for my family, and that's good. You should die for your family if it comes down to it. But you should die for the Lord before you die for anything else.
I'm right.
Right. The Lord is number one in your life. So
if I could real quick, just like you'll die for it, you have to live for it. So that means you got to get off them drugs. That means you got to let go of them whores. That means you got to let go of Christmas. You got to let go of Christianity. Whatever it is.
Mother's Day.
Oh, good Lord.
I know you know Valentine's Day is coming up. Women's going. All these women in the world.
I tried to forget that day in the Lord. Right. Is it that time? February? But yeah, just like you would die for this, that's good. But don't die in doing evil acts. You want to live for this first before anything. You know what I'm saying? Fight to live for this. And if you have to die in serving this, that's glorious. But you want to first fight to live for this. And when people see us living for this and the consistency in how we live for this, that's what brings brothers and sisters in. What is wrong with them? Even if they have, what's wrong with them? What's different with them? Something ain't right. What's going on? You know, our people nosy. As soon as they see something they don't understand, they got to be nosy. Let them be nosy in doing your righteousness and you having that zeal. That's what we have to do. You understand? This is not a lackadaisical thing. Don't let this be a light thing, man. Just like these brothers and these sisters, as you will read in this story, was willing to live and fight and die for this and have a zeal for it. We got to have it that much more because we're even that much more destroyed in this kingdom. You understand? So remember that when you live in your everyday life, and whenever those demons is trying to fight up against you, you remember Maccabees. These demons, that you want to fight against some demons, you understand what Maccabees, that spirit Maccabees had. And you embody that spirit. That's what's going to help you overcome those demons. And your brother.
Damn right. Right. All right. With that, I'm in the class. All right. We're going to, in Israel, I imagine. Sister, stay seated. We're going to give a courtesy salute. Actually, you're supposed to give a courtesy salute. You know what to do. I got it this time. In Israel, Man Shabbat. I imagine. Barak.
Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah.
Yajmatah. Sisters, I imagine, which means to rise. Brother Sar, turn and face the sisters. We're going to give the sisters a courtesy salute. Sister Iwar, you know the I imagine Shabbat. You just do this like the other sisters. And the generals like those elbows nice and high. Not up here, but definitely like that. All right. And then you're just gonna repeat after me. Mina Israel, Man Shabbat. I imagine Barak.
Yahweh Shem Yahweh.
All right, sisters, repeat after me. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shamar.
Shamar.
Alatan.
Alatan.
Bahashem.
Bahashim.
Yahweh Shah.
Yahweh Shah.
Yajmatah. Class dismissed.